Hello everyone. Yes, this video is going to be quite different from everything previously seen, not only because I am speaking directly to you for the second time, but because I am re-uploading something related to Sunshine Berry and Disco Worms, even though in a previous video I said I wouldn't do it. Well, the reason for this is because, in addition to uploading animated movie clips, I now have in mind to create a new video saga. This new saga of videos will consist of reviewing the entire movie again, to find animation errors that happened to the animators and that made it into the final product. And the fact is that, although I love this movie very much, I am not blind either, and I am aware that it has its errors, but above all, in the animation. So, well, without much introduction, let's go there. Well, the first animation error occurs after the film's introduction, specifically after Barry tries to get that small fruit and is humiliated by the insects. After that, we see Barry's house. While he's watching TV with his father, we can see how, when the camera changes, he's wearing his suit, when before he was supposed to be wearing his green shirt. In fact, something that makes me laugh is that when his mother arrives, she puts his suit on him against his will, even though he was already wearing it. Speaking of Barry's mother, when she appears, we can see two pictures on the wall, one of what appears to be a river and the other of a moose, which are on the left side of the couch. But when she goes to get Barry's suit, these pictures magically move to the right side, only to then move back to the left. Finally, when Barry's mother is combing his hair, in the next camera change, his hair is back to how it was before. By the way, I know this isn't exactly a mistake, but something I never understood is, why aren't Frank's glasses transparent? I mean, Donna's glasses are, so what would it have cost them to do the same with Frank's? It's a decision that really doesn't make much sense to me. Following the story, in the scene where Tony Dean is performing, we can see these two earthworms in the background, which are much darker than they should be. Honestly, I'm not sure if this is a mistake, but I think their skin shouldn't be so dark. But what we can consider a mistake is also found here. As we can see, Tito is eating what appears to be a piece of cake, but when the camera zooms in, we see that, in addition to the one Tito is holding, there's another piece on the plate, which wasn't there before. Skipping over a few scenes, we see my girlfriend arrive, Gloria, with her friends, whose names I haven't the slightest idea about. And we also see Barry and Tito backstage, and how Barry sees Tony give the girl a flower, and how he likes it, and how she seems delighted. And this is where the animation error lies. We can see the red worm's eyelashes piercing the skin above its eyes. Later, in the scene where Barry is crushed by the door, we see his pencil and notebook sometimes disappear and reappear. And when Barry is hit, this time by Tony Dean himself, we see his face turn white for a single frame. After that, I didn't find any more errors until the part where Barry returns home. By the way, I'd like to mention something else. This scene where Barry looks through his father's photos always made me feel really sad. Getting back to the matter at hand, in the scene where Barry starts dancing against his will, we see his body, as it sometimes does, distort in a rather strange way. This isn't necessarily an animation error, but it certainly looks odd. Continuing, I wouldn't call this an animation error either, but am I the only one who noticed that in this scene, Barry's tail seems longer than before? Here's a small comparison. Finally, when Barry's mom threatens to open the door, Barry's hair peeks through the skin above his eyes, and also, after he prevented the vinyl record and the turntable from falling to the floor, he magically puts his jacket back on, which he had taken off when he started dancing. The next error I found is in the scene where Barry goes to put up the flyers for his band's audition. In this part, we see 3 worms behind Barry, but in the next shot there are 4, and they aren't the same ones. I think this is a good time to tell you that, honestly, I really dislike the red worm, seriously, even though she doesn't appear much in the movie. Continuing, when Barry is preparing for the audition, when he puts up this poster, we see several pictures to the right of the sofa that weren't there before. The next thing is something that personally caught my attention. When Barry realizes that no one showed up and the camera pulls back, we see that there isn't a single flyer in the streets, even though he supposedly put them up everywhere. Most likely, this was an oversight by the animators, but I like to think that the real reason no one came to the audition was because someone took down all the flyers. Anyway, fast forwarding a bit, when Barry and Gloria are talking, there's a part where it seems like her hair is partially covering her mouth. The next error is in the scene where Gloria sings for the first time, where, again, her hair is partially covering her mouth. Then, when Gloria sings so off-key that she starts destroying things, Barry saves a potted plant by having a curtain fall on it, but in a single scene change, he no longer has either the curtain or the plant. Anyway, after Barry lies to Gloria, telling her he sings well, and she gives him a sexy dance, we return to the office, where Donna and this insect, whose position I honestly never understood, they are complaining because they came across the brochures. In a cut, we see how this insect is somewhat distant from Donna, when a moment ago it was practically next to her, and the same with Donna, who also changes location for no apparent reason. The next thing that happens is that Barry desperately runs to remove all the flyers he had put up so his mother wouldn't see them, when, as we already saw, there weren't any left. Continuing, when the kids arrive at the Hard Root Cafe, there's a somewhat hidden mistake, and while Barry and Jimmy are talking, we can see an insect in the background, which, despite not having anything in its hand, acts as if it's holding a glass, when it clearly isn't. Later, when Barry tries to convince Tito to be the band's bassist, we see two insects talking in the background, but one of them has a rather strange appearance. It's completely gray, which probably means its model came out wrong or something. Yes, I think you've probably already noticed that this movie has many mistakes. Moments later, in the first rehearsal, we can see how the bottom of Gloria's dress is, for some reason, see-through, and in one scene, Tito is wearing his red t-shirt when he's supposed to be wearing his suit, which happens twice, by the way. I don't think it's a mistake, but I think it's worth mentioning. When Donna arrives and takes charge of correcting the guys, we see her tuning Tito's bass, which wouldn't be unusual, except that, from this angle, we can clearly see how far apart they are. So, for her to tune it without moving from the drum kit, she must have stretched out about 2 meters, or 78 inches. Whether it's a mistake or not, it made me chuckle when I noticed it. Anyway, there aren't any other mistakes in this part of the movie, although I would like to mention that when Barry sings "Blame It on the Boogie," he says this.
I just can't control my feelings.
Okay, it's not exactly a mistake, that's how the song lyrics are, but I find it curious that Barry says that because, well, earthworms don't have feet. Anyway, let's move on. When Barry and Tito leave after rehearsal, as the camera focuses on them, we see that Barry, compared to Tito, is much darker than he should be, although this quickly changes. From there are no errors for a while, until Jimmy imagines himself with these guys singing YMCA, where his hair falls across part of his face, something that's also noticeable when the scene transitions to the next one. Well, from here we don't have any more errors for a good while, until the boys are locked in this hook-selling machine, more specifically when Gloria speaks, since her mouth seems to glitch, and like what happened to her earlier, her eyelashes pierce the skin under her eyes. When Barry is captured by the fisherman, we see him wearing his suit, when he was supposed to be wearing his green shirt, again. Seriously, I really don't understand why there are these scenes where a character suddenly appears in different clothes. I really don't get it. Continuing with the movie, when the guys return more or less safe, as everyone is leaving, we see Jimmy's tail sticking out through the ground. And finally, we come to the last animation error in this animated film starring worms, and thank goodness, because I was getting bored of writing this. This last error is visible in the scene where Barry and his band finally manage to perform at the big music competition. For a split second, Barry is wearing the wrong outfit. Again, seriously, someone please explain why. And with that, those are all the animation errors in Sunshine Barry and Disco Worms. I admit that making this video was a bit more difficult than I thought, honestly. As we saw, this movie has a lot of animation errors. It's important to remember that it comes from a studio that doesn't specialize in animation, and it didn't have a very high budget and, apparently, had several problems during production. But despite that, I honestly can't help but notice those details, and here I wonder, didn't they watch the movie after it was finished? Because I can't think of any other explanation for how all these errors made it into the final version. Anyway, I really hope you liked this video. Like, comment, and subscribe if you want me to make another video like this. And speaking of which, I wanted to tell you about a future video I'm planning. This one will be about all the good and bad things about Disco Worms. In other words, it's going to be something like a short critique of this movie, which, as I said at the beginning, even though I really liked it, I know has many flaws, not only in the animation but in general. So, for that video, I'd like you to leave comments about what you liked most about the movie and what you liked least or even hated, so I can include it in the video. Well, I have nothing more to say, so, goodbye everyone.